Today, I strongly affirm the resolution that the United States military ought to abide by the principle of non-intervention. Non-intervention is the principle that states should not interfere coercively in the internal or external affairs of other sovereign states. Sovereignty is the ability of a state to govern itself freely without outside interference. The United Nations enshrines non-intervention as a fundamental norm. In this debate, my value is international stability, which refers to the condition in which nations can interact predictably and peacefully, with low risk of war or large-scale conflict. My criterion is respect for sovereignty. This is not only a legal or a political concept, it is a moral principle. Just as individuals have the right to make their own decisions without coercion, nations deserve autonomy, dignity, and safety without outside interference. Respecting sovereignty prevents unnecessary harm to human life and reduces the risk of escalation that can spiral into broader conflict. Contention 1. Non-intervention prevents escalation and blowback. History and research both show that intervention often creates more problems than they solve. A study of 50 U.S. military interventions since World War II found no statistically significant difference in outcomes between intervention and non-intervention. Simply put, intervention rarely produces better results than restraint. Take Iraq and Afghanistan into consideration. Although interventions were intended to establish stable governments, they instead increased civil conflict, weakened states' institutions, and allowed extremist groups to gain power. The United Nations University confirmed that these occupations failed to achieve long-term stability. Additionally, research from the Brookings Institution shows that foreign interventions often increase polarization and identity-based conflict within countries affected. Beyond numbers, consider the human costs. Families lose loved ones, children grow up amid violence, communities are torn apart, and communities are torn apart. Non-intervention, by contrast, avoids triggering these cascading harms. For example, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, U.S. restraint prevented nuclear wars, sparing millions of potential deaths and avoid untold suffering. In Kosovo, in 1999, restraint in surrounding Balkan states prevented broader regional war, even as limited intervention addressed immediate threats. These examples illustrate that sometimes choosing to act with patience, careful consideration, and respect for sovereignty is the most moral and rational decision, and it protects human life on the largest scale. It shows that power alone does not guarantee security. Moral restraint, respect for sovereignty, and strategic non-intervention can save countless lives. Choosing restraint is not passivity. It's the conscious decision to prevent harm before it multiplies. Contention 2. Non-intervention respects international law, which is crucial for both moral and practical reasons. The UN Charter explicitly forbids coerced interference in domestic affairs of other states. Article 2.4 prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, and Article 2.7 prevents UN bodies from intervening in matters that fall within a state's domestic jurisdiction. By following these rules, the United States sets an example of moral leadership. Acting outside these laws may provide short-term tactical advantage, but it undermines legitimacy and makes it harder to persuade other nations to cooperate on global challenges. Violating sovereignty can lead to retaliation, diplomatic isolation, and the loss of credibility. On a moral level, non-intervention honors the right of all nations to self-determination and recognizes that external coercion often causes more harm than good. International law is not an abstract idea. It is the codification of shared moral principles designed to protect human life and dignity. Contention 3. Non-intervention conserves resource and reduces human costs. According to the Watson Institute for International and Public Affairs, post-9/11 U.S. military spending exceeded $8 trillion, with long-term veteran care raising the total beyond $10 trillion. Civilian casualties in Iraq, Afghanistan, and related conflicts exceeded 380,000. These numbers are staggering, but they only tell a part of the story. Behind every statistic is a person, families losing parents, children growing up without stability, communities destroyed. By avoiding unnecessary military interventions, the United States preserves human life and financial resources. It allows the nation to focus on protecting its citizens, investing in domestic priorities, and addressing global problems through diplomacy rather than force. Morally, this is the right choice, to prevent harm when it can be avoided. Non-intervention is not inaction. It is the deliberate commitment to protect life and maintain stability. In conclusion, non-intervention prevents escalation and blowback, respects international law, conserves resources, and has been historically effective in maintaining global security. Military interventions rarely achieve their intended objectives and often create long-term instability, suffering, and destruction. By adhering to non-intervention, the United States strengthens international stability, preserves sovereignty, and protects human life. Morally, it is the responsible and ethical choice. It prioritizes safety, dignity, and the rights of people around the world. For these reasons, I urge the judge to affirm the resolution the United States military ought to abide by the principle of non-intervention. Thank you.